like to dedicate tonight's shiur for all the chayalim, all our soldiers. You know, we lost way too many. Every soul is way too many, and the pain that it's causing. So Hashem, enough. And B'zchut the Torah tonight in Eretz Yisrael, in Tel Aviv. Please give shmirah to all the Chayalei Tzva Agana Yisrael, to all of Am Yisrael in Israel, outside Israel, and hopefully by the time the shiur is finished, we should hear the shofar being blown, and Mashiach should have come. B'zrat Hashem. Let's really try and bring Mashiach over the next hour. And with that, let's take one of the most complex parts of Torah, which on one hand is super complex, on the other hand is profound, fundamental, and essentially is what your life's all about, which is the idea of bechira chofshit, free will. We're going to go into the world of Jewish philosophy and the world of Jewish Kabbalah over the next 3 weeks and go through 3 fundamental questions about free will. Tonight we're going to be tackling what is free will and really try and understand what is it for you specifically, get it into you, because I'm very into helping Torah relate to you personally. That's tonight. Tomorrow we're going next week, B'zrat Hashem, we're going to go through the famous question, how do you have free will if Hashem knows the future? And that famous question, do we even have free will? Is there fate? Is it destiny? If Hashem knows the future anyway, what is it? I'm going to go super deep and show you some crazy, mind-blowing, Kabbalistic, parallel universes stuff. That's next week. And then the last week, which maybe is the hardest one of all, which I'm really doing a lot of prep for, because it's a very, very hard topic, which is, you have free will, but can I impact your free will with my free will? And that's super complex. And therefore, just for example, do we say that the soldiers, Rahman al-Islam, that have died this week? And by the way, if you know really what's been happening, it seems that there was, maybe Shana will know better than me, but it seems there was, and it was like an accident, it was an explosion. That's what I'm hearing, right? It was an explosion from Hamas weren't even involved in that per se. So do we say that any soul that's passed away, it's because their time is up, and for whatever reason Hashem has chosen them? Like, for example, in this room on Friday night, there was a guy called Aaron who told me that he's been in Gaza and he was working in some of the tunnels and came out one of the tunnels, and as he came out, a Hamas terrorist came right behind him and shot at him. And he goes, he doesn't understand it, how they missed. Literally they missed. They haven't got a good shot. And he literally missed, and he's living a lie to tell them. So I would say, from the classic Kabbalistic approach, it's because his time wasn't up. So if your time's not up, it's not up. If that's the case, it's complicated. Does that mean I can't kill who I want to kill with my free will? Does that mean the Hamas terrorists can't kill who they want? So they don't have free will, or do we have free will? That's week 3 anyway. I don't want to go into it too much, but it's super complex, but really fascinating, really profound. So please don't go anywhere for the next 3 weeks, and make sure that we're really going through. That means you've got to stay here for 3 weeks, literally. You just be with us, because it's going to be super complex, and I hope we can have some good discussion during, especially afterwards, because it's incredibly complex topic. I'm going to be bringing source sheets tonight. I've got some source sheets at the end. I can give out these, or even easier, in today's modern world, I can just WhatsApp you. Then you've got it on your phone, because now we never have sheets of paper anymore, right? What is that? Everything's on our phone. So I'll be able to WhatsApp it to you as well. So here we go. What is free will? And let me explain why I'm connecting it to this week's parsha. I always talk about it now, because this is the weeks in the Torah which always speaks about free will. Why? Because you've got the following famous question. Hashem says, what's going on in this week is that it's in Egypt. We're in Egypt. Hashem says, time to come out, which, by the way, we should see some good news in a way this week, because our enemies get 7 plagues this week. Bo'era, Vav, and Aleph stands for 7, numerical value. This week there's 7 plagues, and next week is Bo, which is numerical value 3. So next week there's 3 plagues, okay? 7 plagues this week, 3 plagues next week. We should start hopefully giving lots of plagues to Hamas and all the terrorists, and they should start being defeated, good and proper. And it says in the Torah, that this strange pasuk, it says that Hashem gave the plagues because he's trying to make Pharaoh say, okay, enough. It's a bit like what we're trying to do, Nachon, with Hamas. We're trying to make them say, okay, enough, you can have your hostages. That's what we're trying to do. Enough. So what's the point of saying enough, enough? And then the pasuk says, Hashem hardened Pharaoh's heart. Hashem ichbidet libo. And the Rambam says this scary line in the laws of Tshuva, Hashem took away Pharaoh's free will. And therefore, Hashem didn't even allow Pharaoh to say they can go. So you've got this whole masquerade thing where Moses says, let my people go, and Pharaoh's about to say they can go, and Hashem makes him say, no, they can't. What's the point of that? And then he punishes Pharaoh with another plague, and another plague, and another plague, and this is where we start in the Torah really understanding this concept called free will. When is it? What is it? Can we use it? Can we not use it? At the end, remind me to come back to that and give you a couple of answers for that question. But let's now go into the topic of free will. And then what is free will? So here's the problem, my friends. By the way, I don't really want to go into today kind of what the other side say, what the philosophy world say, the academic world say. I'm sure you've read a lot about it in your own time, why we don't have free will, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to spend my time quoting the other opinion too much now, because I really want to learn Torah. You've probably had the whole of your lives to hear the other opinions. I don't have to quote the books, they're all there. If you want to check it on the internet, and by the way, before you make your own informed decision, by all means, look at the other side, and then you hear the Torah sides, and you make up your decision. You've got free will to decide if you have free will. Work that out for yourself. But there's definitely, tragically, for me, one of the reasons Mashiach's not here, one of the reasons I believe there is a broken society is that society's been brainwashed into thinking with modern Western thinking that we're just determinists, we're just a consequence of our family, we're a consequence of nature and nurture, everything's determined, and therefore we haven't got free will. And I'll say to that, A, what's the point? B, why are you putting criminals in prison if it's never their fault? And by the way, one of the reasons I believe, apart from anti-Semitism, why so much of the West is siding with the bad guys, is siding with Hamas now, is this ridiculous mistake that we don't have free will and we're all victims. When you've heard people say that what happened on October the 7th is just resistance, it's a consequence, nothing happens in a vacuum. You know, what do you expect someone to do who's had 40 years of occupation? That's classic victimhood, which exonerates and allows you to do whatever you want because we're a victim. We don't believe that. We believe, yes, our nature and our nurture plays a part. Yes, we have ordeals, but guess what? There's this space post the ordeal and prior to your actions where you decide what you want. We have free will, and let me share with you a few core verses which start showing you the Torah perspective before. And anyone can think, what's the famous, there's one, it's actually a mitzvah in the Torah, which says you have a mitzvah called free will. Do you know where it is, what it's called? So it's in Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 15, and it says the following. It says, this day I call heaven and earth as witnesses against you. I have set before you, Nasati lefanecha bracha v'klala, I put before you blessings and curses. I have put before you chayim v'mavet. Ubacharta b'chayim. I ask you, says Hashem, to you, choose life. Choose life. He wouldn't say choose life if we couldn't choose. There can't be a mitzvah to have free will if we don't have free will. In fact, you couldn't have any mitzvah if we didn't have free will. Because what's the whole point of a mitzvah is that you choose if you're going to be good or not. You choose if you want to speak bad or not. You choose if you want to be compassionate or not. If we didn't choose, why would be a point of having a mitzvah? Apart from that, there is a specific mitzvah in Deuteronomy which you can look at, which says there's life and death in front of you, choose life. And by the way, we're seeing with this war, if one of the big differences between us and the other side are, they're choosing death. They choose death. They thrive on death. They think the religion is about death. They're literally choosing death. And we believe we should choose life. We believe that this world is critical, but here's the thing, my friends. Most people think, oh, choose life. That means the job that you pick is your choice. Are you choosing red or white wine tonight? You know, are you going to go to that club or that club tonight? Or that bar or that? We start thinking, tragically, that the arena of your free will is in the arena of your material world, the arena of your pleasure choices, the arena of the clothes you're choosing to wear. Here we go. Let's go straight into Kabbalah. The Talmud says, Hakol bidei shamayim chutz miyirat shamayim. Everything's in the hands of Hashem apart from fear of Hashem. Which means, guess what? The lovely brown shirt you're wearing there, that wasn't your choice. The clothes you're wearing isn't your choice necessarily. You might have thought you chose it. That can be maybe nature and nurture. Where Darwin and the like have a point is in the area of much of our life, which, guess what, isn't relevant to the choice arena. The Talmud says, where do you have free will? In the area of spirituality, morality, ethics. Hakol, bidei shamayim, everything's Hashem. Chutz, where does Hashem back out and say, I'll give you space to be you? Your spiritual choices. If you're going to be good, those who are doing volunteering here or not, that's your choice. How we're reacting to the war is your choice. How kind you are or not is your choice. How much Judaism means to you or not at this point is your choice. Yes, it's all influenced by a lot of nature and nurture, no doubt. But there's this moment that before there's an action, you could literally go one of two ways. By the way, this is crazy. I was just thinking about it. That means that Hashem's created a system where nothing spiritual is inevitable. For example, when you go home tonight, so let's talk about me for a minute. When I go home tonight, there's going to be a certain prayer that only sometimes do I say, like when I'm really in the mood, when I've really got strength. And I have no idea if I'm going to say it or not tonight. I don't know. Even if I say I really want to, that doesn't mean I will. Because I'm going to be quite tired by the time I get home. And I might not be able to push myself that little bit more. Meaning, it's just, it could, even now, the Coke and the water. What's it going to be? Am I going to go for the Coke or the water? We literally have spiritual choices which you don't know, it is not known, it hasn't been decided, it's up to you. This is, by the way, really scary. Maimonides says in the Laws of Tshuva, and it's a very important place to understand how free will works. The Rambam is pivotal in this area. He says in the Laws of Tshuva the following, and he's very scathing against the other philosophers. He says, don't be like, in this way he puts it, Tipshei umot ha'olam, the foolish philosophers. He calls them foolish. So the Rambam says, we don't agree with the foolish philosophers that tell you that we have no free will. And he writes the following. If someone's going to be a tzaddik or a rasha, that's down to you. If someone is going to be kind or cruel, it's down to you. If someone's going to be selfish or selfless, it's down to you. If someone's going to keep Shabbat or not, it's down to you. If someone's going to speak Lashon Hara or not, it's down to you. And by the way, how can I prove it? Are you ready for the answer? Look in your inner world and ask yourself, have you ever been in moments when you're working on something and you're trying, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't? Think about it. That's right now, Lashon Hara. Those of you who've ever tried to not speak Lashon Hara, Anita, I know Anita well, right? Am I right by saying sometimes you got it? You can stop yourself. You're about to say something and then you just close that mouth of yours or you change the conversation. Nachon? And then sometimes it just comes out. Nachon? And what does that mean? That just means that it's not destined, that we have choice. They can go one of two ways. And by the way, some philosophers will say, no, it's because you ate that meal and it's because you smelt that perfume. It's nonsense, because it could be at the same day, at the same time, with the same meal, and you'll do one day and one the other day. Why? Because the Torah says, and that's why we're here. Again, your inner world knows. Now let's even take something easier. Dieting. Anyone in here try to diet? Anyone? Guess what? It's really hard, number one. Number two, sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. So what's a few things I'm doing at the moment? Okay, so right now I'm really, for many years I've been trying to deal with my sugar addiction. But and then for the past like 3-4 weeks, it's been like a lot. 3 Cokes a day. And then it got to Monday this week, and I said, Yalla, enough. I'm not going to have it for 24 hours. And I managed it for a first time in a long time, not to have Coke, which for me is like a big deal, to have like 3 a day, for 48 hours. 48 hours. That was crazy for me. Can't tell how many times I've wanted not to, and then I didn't. Like for me, I go into a shop when I'm trying to work on myself. I don't know if you have this. I walk into the shop, and there's a Coca-Cola like talking to me. Rabbi Hill, Avi, come. And I'm like, shh. And then I go for the water, and it's like, no, you want me. It's me you want. And I'm like, just leave me alone. And then before you know it, it's like a nice glass bottle. Like I've got to the point where I'll only have with a glass bottle now. But the problem is there's glass bottles everywhere in Israel. Everywhere sells with a glass. Everyone knows that trick now, right? So there's one shop, by the way, which I highly recommend. I don't know why I give them a big up, but why not? It's a great new kosher shop on the beach by Borgashov, like in that area overlooking the beach. Do you know about it, Shana? It's really nice. They don't sell Coke. So I'm safe. No one can tempt me with Coca-Cola in that place. I'm very frustrated, but at least I can't have Coke there because definitely is, for me, Pepsi is no point of Pepsi. For me, just sorry, Pepsi fans, but I'm just not a fan. So I'm not going to be tempted for the sugar. My point is, any of you who've tried to diet, you know that you have free will. Because you know sometimes you can, and mostly you can't. And it's no logic, reason or rhyme. Do you know what it's down to? It's strength. I said to my wife, I said this week, come on, I can do anything I want. I'm strong enough. I don't want to have cocaine. I won't have cocaine. And I managed it for 2 days. And you might think that's no big deal. For me, it's a big deal. That's why I'm allowing myself to have one today, because I'm really tired. And 2 days, that's a big start. Shlav. Another thing, just to show you how we can change. You know, there's a stupid saying, all that talk of Coke. Hi. I'll be vulnerable for a minute. Because I just want to like really help you try and pinpoint the free will within you and just come up with like interesting examples. So I want to make it really real for you, because a lot of people don't think, this is not theoretical. That's the thing about Torah and Kabbalah. It's anything but theoretical. It's the most real thing you could ever study in your life. It's about you. Let me prove it. But some people say, have you heard the phrase like leopards don't change their spots? This is me. There's a famous joke, as we call it, a gag in London, where you've got this, let's see if I get it right, you've got this frog and a scorpion. And the frog wants to get to the other side. It's a frog, like a frog with a really bad leg that can't swim, bit of a rubbish frog. And the frog like can't get to the other side, but it sees a scorpion who's in the sea. And the scorpion says, come on, Mr. Frog, come on my back. I'll help you get to the other side. So the frog says, listen, I know I'm a frog, but I'm not stupid. You're going to sting me. You can't help, you're going to sting me. So the scorpion says, to be fair, normally you're such a nice frog. And you've asked me something, I can see you've got a bad leg. So you know what? For you, I'll make an exception. I'll let you come on my back. I won't sting you. The frog says, do you promise? Promise. Shake on it. Swear on your scorpion, little children's lives. I swear. And then the frog comes on the back of the scorpion. The scorpion takes them to the other side. And just before it gets to the other side, the scorpion says, I've been so nice to take you. And by the way, shh, gives him the sting. And kills the frog. And the frog's family were watching on the other side, and they were so distraught, and they said to the scorpion, but you promised! We saw you shook on it! How can you do that to our cousin frog? And the scorpion said, what can I do? I'm a scorpion. And it's really deep. Shana likes it. But here's what's really funny. We all say that! We all say that! Okay, let's be a bit real. We're in Tel Aviv here. Do you know how many people will have like one night stands, or there'll be a guy that will do something that he shouldn't do? So what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I'm in Tel Aviv. You know, what can I do? This is me. Shtuyot. Nonsense. Yes. More of us can be weaker in different areas. More of us have got different propensity in different areas. Nakon. But the choice is ours. Every single time. How do I know that? Because the Torah says, B'chata b'chayim. And I know it because I can know it. I know it because the things I'm rubbish at, sometimes I can win, mostly I lose. But then ever so often there's changes. So for example, it's a bit embarrassing, sorry, don't judge me. Just don't judge me. Okay. My wife says, don't say this, but don't tell her I say this. She's not here. Anita, don't say it. So, as I was telling people before in my Path to Just talk, in Kabbalah, we're all from different spectrums in the Sefirah. Some people who, like me, are water signs, are much more emotional, much more thinking about higher things, and not really down here. And some people, the earth signs are very practical. So one of my weaknesses is super messy. I've always been really messy from a very young age. I remember, like as a 6-year-old, one of my teachers saying, Avi, slow down with your writing. Slow down. Say more haste, less speed, or something nonsense like that. And they tried to get me to write slowly, and I did it for like a few seconds, and because Hashem made my brain work really, really fast, and write fast. One of my rabbis, Rabbi, a big tzaddik, said to me, he goes, Avi, you've got to learn how to walk slower and talk slower. And I tried to give up. But the point is that that's one of my weaknesses, and therefore one of my weaknesses is being super messy. Anyway, when I was in England just now, my wife said, okay, I've got to tell you something after all these years. I said, sure, how much do you love me, darling? And she goes, a lot. But you need to know something. By the way, sometimes I love you, but not good. Right? Right? So I got an I love you, but moment. And the I love you, but moment was, it's time. It's really time to deal with some of your messiness. Like, it's just me and you now in Tel Aviv, the kids, it's just me and you. So it's just me and your mess. And it's enough. Like, I could hide amongst the mess of my children. It was their fault and their fault was them. I can't say that in Tel Aviv now. It's all me. So I go, what do you mean? Me? What? Messy? She goes, yeah, very. And one of the, I said, give me an example. She goes, no problem. She said, this is the easiest thing ever. And she starts giving me examples. And one of the examples was, and it's embarrassing to say again, don't judge me. I was so embarrassed. It's good shuvah. And even today, I'm always in a rush. I'm always doing loads of things. So tragically, and I know it's wrong, tragically, after I brush my teeth, and then I get out of the bathroom. I don't think I've ever, for a long time, put, I don't know what it's called, the top of the, what's it called, the lid of the toothpaste back on the toothpaste. It's disgusting, I know. But I'm just in a rush. And we've got, in London, someone called Ilana who comes every 2 days and tidies for us and cleans for us. And Ilana did it every time. And now we're in Tel Aviv without Ilana, and my wife told me I've been doing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think. But you know what's really cool? And she goes, what's even the point of telling you you're not going to change? I said, I'm going to change. And I can't even tell you what's been. She told me this on Thursday. And I'm really excited to announce. Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, not Shabbos, I don't brush my teeth on Sunday. Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 6 days, I have put the lid on the toothpaste. Have a round of applause, please. And you might think that's no big deal, but you know what's so weird? This is how I work in the morning. You ready? This is what happens in the morning. I'm brushing my teeth, go like that, and I've got to literally come back and put it. And it's so weird. Like, my instinct is just to run out. And I'm changing my habits. But you know what's super cool? I'm changing a habit. And the mystics say whenever we change a habit, whatever it is, it's a big deal. Because it's hard to change habits. Because one of the ways the Yetzer Hara works is through routine and through the same thing. And before you know it, you swear because we always swear. And I say Lashon Hara because we always say Lashon Hara. And I'm messy and inconsiderate because I'm always messy and inconsiderate. And I show my temper because my father has a temper and he had a temper and everyone has a temper. So I'll have a temper and that's how I react. When things happen, I lose my temper. מה אני יכול לעשות? המון, you can do a lot. We can change. I'm 52 and a half years old. And after 52 years, I'm finally after 52 years, finally putting the lid on the toothpaste. Big deal for me. I know but it's weird because it's instinctive. I'm going like that, and I'm having to come back and doing it. And hopefully, eventually I'll make it as a habit. But don't think in yourself that you can't change. And by the way, what makes it so important, and this is why I'm doing it, is because I didn't even realize being messy is also being inconsiderate, is being mean, is making my wife do something that why the heck should she do it? So therefore it's mamish a spiritual effort. Because here's the thing, there are many things you can come up with which will be habits, which is maybe important to change, but aren't necessarily a mitzvah. What I'm trying to share with you is the key habits to change, the key areas of free will to take ownership of is in your spiritual arena, my friends. Is in your mitzvot. Here we go. Says the Talmud in Niddah. How wealthy you're going to be has nothing to do with you. It's not within your free will to decide how rich you're going to be. Guess that. And by the way, that's the thing that most people spend all their life trying to do and thinking that's within my control or not. How wealthy or not, it's got nothing to do with it. The Talmud says there's an angel. And the Talmud even says what the angel's name is. I don't want to say it at night. It's Lamed Yud Lamed Hey, which is the same as evening. And this angel, before you're born, says to Hashem, Hashem, what do you want to do with this neshama? This neshama, you want to make him ashir or ani? Wealthy or poor? It's decided before you're born. It says, chacham or tipesh. How high IQ do you want? Hashem, how high do you want this baby to be? How clever? Your intellect's got nothing to do with your free will. Bari or choleh. Do you know how many children are born ill and people are just dealing with illness and dealing with illness? You know, when I was 6 years old, I was taken to Great Ormond Street, one of the big hospitals in London, to deal with a big pain over there, which, by the way, where there's a birthmark, which, by the way, my wife's got the same birthmark in the same space, go figure. And my whole life has been, that's one of my areas of medical challenge. And it's obviously part of my spiritual, that's one of the things Hashem said when the angel said to Hashem, what should we do with Avi Hill? And that was one of the areas Hashem said, Avi Hill should go through that challenge. It's not within my free will. It's not within your free will. Actually, do you know how many people are so healthy in how they eat and how they jog and how many times they go to the gym religiously? I mean, in Tel Aviv, there's no doubt, nachon, people go to the gym way more than shul. Way more. You know, and I go 3 times a day to shul. But people are going to the gym and yet, you can go to the gym and you can eat super healthy and you can fall down and die of a heart attack like that. In my football team, Spurs, the fittest guy at Spurs, a guy called Ugo Echiog, literally collapsed one day in training session, died of a heart attack. 40, he was fit, not an ounce of fat. When it's your time, and you can't control your health. You can't control how much you're going to earn. You can't control how clever you are. You can't control how beautiful or not you are. But you can control how beautiful you are inside. You can control how compassionate you're going to be. You can control the area that Hashem wants you to control and define you by, which is your ethical zone, your moral zone, your spiritual zone. That is you. That is you. It's not easy, but it's you. It's interesting, I was looking today for like a few stories, because I like saying stories, because otherwise you fall asleep if I don't say a story. Because I was looking online for a story, and I just like, oh my gosh, I don't know which one. And I did this one, and listened to this story, and I think he's talking to me. I think this is me more than for you, but hopefully you enjoy it too. From a very good speaker that I'm going to try and get here, called Charles Harari. I'm sure you know him, Samantha. Maybe you could ask him to come here. So Charles Harari said this really cool story today. And he said he was in show, and he saw an old friend that he hadn't seen for like 25 years, and he looked very different to how he looked. Because 25 years ago, this was the youngest, fittest guy in athlete, and now he was obese, and he was really, really obese, and really looked super unwell. And Charles went up to him and said, "How are you? And you've changed?" And he said, "Oh, don't you start." And so I was like, "What a difference?" And he opened up to the rabbi, and the obese man was saying, "Listen, my family have all asked me to try and lose weight, and I've tried everything. So the rabbi, who's done a lot of work on changing habits, said, okay, you come to the right place. Come on, I'm going to help you. Let's talk about it. He goes like, give me an example of something that you do, which is the wrong habit. Let's try and break some habits. He goes, on a Thursday night after shul, I go into the shop and I just buy the whole shop out. And therefore my Shabbos food is full of amazing fatty foods. And I've tried to be in the shop to try and choose. And every time when I put some healthy things in the trolley, I then quickly put it out and put the other stuff in the trolley. And my trolley gets full of fattier and yummier and more sugary food every time. So Charles Harari said, let me ask you, when you go shopping, have you eaten yet? And the guy said, I haven't had a chance to eat yet. He goes, next time you eat first and then you shop. And by the way, I'm going to save you some money here. So 10% of the money I save you, please give to JTLV already. Because if any of you go shopping when you're hungry, bad idea. Because you're hungry and therefore you're not in control of the shopping and therefore you think, I'm going to eat that, I'm going to eat that, I'm going to eat that. And you'll buy the wrong foods and a lot of excessive food and things you don't need. And before you know it, you've got in your home stuff you don't need. Whereas if you actually eat first and then shop, you're much more rational. You're thinking with your brain. And that's what Charles Harari said. Just do that next time. I'm sure it'll be okay. Here's my number. Tell me how it goes. So anyway, 2 weeks later, Charles is now calling him back and saying, "No, how did it go?" He said, "Terrible." So what do you mean terrible? He said, "I ate, went shopping, and I managed to get a few different things, but to be quite honest, I've fallen back off the horse and it's too hard. It's too hard. It's too hard." Charles was a bit despondent. 6 months later, the man calls back Charles and says, "You've got to hear what's happened." He goes, "Tell me." He goes, "I'm changed." He took a selfie of him. He's lost stones and stones. He said, "What happened? How'd you manage it?" And he said the following. He said, "My friend told me that even though it says in King Solomon, So me'ra v'asei tov, which means turn away from bad and do good, sometimes that doesn't work. And by the way, it doesn't work for me. And sometimes, especially in today's generation, what you need to do is do good, and then you're inspired to turn away from bad and then do good." In other words, it's not enough just to have self-control. Sometimes just do something good. So he said, just start doing some nice exercise. Instead of just trying to prevent eating, do something good. And he said he bought a bike, and he went on a Thursday night and did a bike ride. Okay. Next Thursday night, he did another bike ride. And a bit longer. Third Thursday night, he did a longer bike ride. He's now starting to enjoy it. And then his friend is like, "Oh, you're doing bike riding, let me go with you. Maybe we'll do twice a week." He's going twice a week. He then goes to the shops. I don't want to have that, because he's feeling better and he's feeling thinner. And he's in a different state of mind. And the long story short, after 2 months, he lost a crazy amount because of the bike. Why this is important? Because it shows this is the way it can work. This famous Chinese philosopher, Lao Tzu, who said, "The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step." My dear friends, if you want to lose free will, which I hope, if you want to use your free will for good and change habits, which I hope you can do it just with one step, but do one step which is doable, one step which you want to do. And this is the key, my friends. You'll change habits if you want to, but only if you want to. Because when we start going to get into the Kabbalistic understanding of how it works, we have a space over here called the Ratzon, where we put on tefillin. It's over here, it's our kesser. This is kind of our higher consciousness, and it's going to come down into our whole essence. And if you want it, the Ratzon in Kabbalah is the same numerical value as Makar, the root, the source. There can't be a source of the source. Your source is what you want. If I really wanted to cut out Coke for the rest of my life, I would be able to cut it out. And I have 2 waters next week, maybe some whiskey. But I want to start working on it. And I'm Baruch Hashem starting working on it. And hopefully, eventually, I'll never have it again. I'll be really happy not to. Bezat Hashem. Because we have the power to change, but here's the key thing, you've got to want it. Now let's go a bit deeper. Says Rabbi Dessler in Strive for Truth, and I highly recommend you get this book with somebody else. He says, we all have a certain battle zone of Bechirach of shit. Bechirach of shit isn't anything and everything. You don't have Bechirach of shit to become Moshe Rabbeinu, Sarah Emeinu. You don't have Bechira Chavshit to be the best doctor in the world. You have Bechira Chavshit extremely, uniquely different to each and every one of you. The way the Baal Shem Tov puts it in a modern day setting. Imagine there was a marathon runner. And he wants to get the gold medal. How long do you know it takes? How many minutes and hours does it take to run a marathon if you're going to win the gold medal? Anyone know? Any athletes in the room? Approximately around 2 hours and 6 minutes could do it. 2 hours and 6 minutes. Can you imagine if I say to an athlete, 2 hours and 6 minutes you're going to win the gold medal, and I say that to a 100-meter runner. A 100-meter runner, do you know how long it takes him to run, or her to run 100 meters, if they want to win? I think the world record is like 9.38 seconds. So can you imagine if the 100-meter runner is running 2 hours? It would be like the worst 100-meter runner ever. Meaning, my friends, what race are you running? Samantha, what race does Hashem want you to race? That's it. You've got to work out, what's my race? What is my race? And what does Hashem want from me? You know, I play golf, and the cool thing about golf is something called a handicap, which means I can play Tiger Woods tomorrow and give him a game. Why? Because I know the normal way I play golf, which is called a handicap of 14. Right? I play around 14 over par. So that means I can play him a game because he's got to give me 14 shots. And then we're playing equal. Meaning, we've all got a different spiritual potential and a spiritual role and a spiritual beginning and middle and end, and therefore we're playing against ourselves, not each other. That's one of the reasons we can be nice to each other and help each other. Because actually, the more I help you, the more I'm better for myself. Hashem made it so easy for us to be kind, and I can't understand how we're living in such a cruel world at times. Because actually we need each other. We can help each other. We're living in such a competitive, egotistical world. We think that you're the problem. You know, I heard someone say, and you know that person, and please don't tell him I'm saying this but I was just shocked. He was like, this is my advice to the world. Don't trust anybody. And he put that on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm like, oh yeah, you've gone through a lot of trauma. I'm happy to help you, but that's not the answer. The answer isn't to feel that you're separate from reality, you're separate from society. The more actually we learn to give and we connect and we integrate, that's better. So says Rabbi Dessler, we've got something called Habachira, and he says it's a bit like a war. So right now in Gaza, for example, at the beginning of the war, is in the northern Gaza. That's where the fight was. Our soldiers were there on the northern Gaza, and that's where the battleground was. The Baruch Hashem, mostly we've won that area now, and now we're coming to the center of Gaza. So now the battle's during the center of Gaza, and guess what? This happens in our spiritual life. So like now, I'm battling with my messiness on the lid of the toothpaste, hopefully in 40 days, because it takes 40 days to change a habit. You know that? 40 days in a row you change your habit. According to Judaism, according to Kabbalah. In 40 days' time, that will become my natural, then I'll be on to a different area. And that's the way it works. You become someone, right now, I mean, for me it's now natural that before I pray every day I give charity. I've made that like natural automatically. It's just like, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about it. I've got the coins in my pocket right now for tomorrow's show. So I don't have to think about it. I do 2 coins in the morning, 2 coins in the afternoon. I've always got 4 coins before each prayer because I say Ashrei before, and then at the end of Shacharit, another Ashrei. The Arizal says when you say Potechet Javech, I'll give another charity. So I've got, I don't have to think about it. But I used to have to think about it, but now I'm not fighting that anymore. I'm fighting something else. And there's always something else and something else. And the Talmud says the greater you grow, the greater your Yetzer Hara grows. This is where it gets really complex. So anyone play PlayStation? Those like Nintendo games? So when you're playing at the beginning, when you're like rubbish, it's all very slow. And they're like, it's like a child's pace. And the better you get, the more it speeds up, and the more it speeds up, and the more it speeds up. That's how Hashem responds to us as well. At the beginning, nice and easy, Nice and easy, but then it's faster and faster and faster. And it gets harder. But my friends, I want to share with you something Kabbalistic, which is a game changer. It's kind of a way of cheating, but it's actually the goal. And if you can really learn this can help you win. You ready for this? Here we go. Says Rabbi Dessler, the goal of free will is to lose your free will. Say that again. The goal of your free will is to lose your free will. Natalie's saying, what's the Rabbi saying? Watch this. Would you agree, Natalie, that it would be a good thing for me in a month's time if I'm no longer thinking about putting the lid on the toothpaste?
Yes.
Correct. Would you agree, Natalie, it would be good that when next time I want to speak Lashon Hara, I don't even want it? Do you, like my father, Alav Shalom, I never heard him, for my 47 years of knowing him, heard him say a word Lashon Hara. He didn't have a Yitzhara for Lashon Hara, as far as I know. It's just, it was like poison, it was like rat poison. Who's going to have rat poison? Do you want some rat poison, anyone? He's like, it was rat poison, it is rat poison, so he was not interested. For him, that wasn't his battle. Meaning, the goal is that you don't have to fight. The goal, it's not a good thing to walk into a shop and say, I want to steal the sweets. But I'm not going to. Anyone who has that, really sad, they need to see a therapist. It's called kleptomania and chaval. But it's not, I'm not going to get rewarded in Olam Haba. Hashem's going to say to me, Avi Hill, well done. You didn't steal sweets in the shops. I'm not going to get rewarded for that because that wasn't my temptation. Here's the goal. The goal is to climb and climb and climb and climb. You're just being aligned to the will of Hashem. The stories we read in the Torah, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe Rabbeinu especially, they were living in such alignment to Hashem's will that they had just a bit of free will. And that bit of free will made a big difference. But in 99% of their actions, it was going with the flow. And therefore the real free will is, Natalie, to choose to lose your free will. To choose to be so refined that things that used to bother you don't bother you anymore. The things that you used to sin with isn't even a question anymore, because every time it's a question, it's a chaval. And our goal is to mamash halabai, lose our free will. Moshe Rabbeinu got to a level where he lost all his free will, game over. He was like a walking angel. Angels don't have free will. Animals, Tel Aviv's got lots of animals. Got news for you. Next time you see a dog, and by the way, there's a dog out here before, so misbehaving. Naughty dog, so loud, it's making such a noise. It's not his fault. Mamash. Because it's a dog, he's just following his instincts. Dogs don't think, shall I be good or naughty? They don't think that, they just are. But we, Homo sapiens like ourselves, do. I remember when I was in school, I chose to be naughty. I couldn't say, like the dog, what can I do? Even though I probably did say that. That was horrendous, right? But you can't say, I'm a victim. But the goal is to choose to be angelic, to choose to be lofty, to choose to only do the right thing. And it says, someone who's really free is someone who's engaged in spirituality, totally under the canopy of Hashem. Then you're just walking with Hashem, and it's not a good thing to be tempted. Our goal is to be so refined, not even interested. There's a friend of mine, married with beautiful kids, and his weakness was women. And he went to this party, and there was a woman in a red dress, and they had an affair, a one-night stand, and his wife found out about it, threw him out, and that guy is regretting it for the rest of his life. And you might argue, oh, it's not his fault. Now he knows it was not worth it. And here's what's really interesting. What is it that makes us do such ridiculous things? He knew at the back of his mind he could get in trouble. He knew that when people have affairs, they know they could get found out. When people steal at work, they know they could ruin their career. What makes them do it? Rabbi Tat says a story of when he was a doctor in South Africa. He was working in a hospital. And in that hospital, there was this guy with an illness called Berger's disease. What's that? So smoking, and I'm fascinated when I watch people smoke. So fascinated. Because I'm not tempted by it. I cannot understand for the life of me why someone would say, let's try and end my life by another few minutes. And then other people's life as well, by blowing the smoke in them. It's bizarre. But people smoke, and someone with Berger's disease is someone who smokes and their body is literally allergic to the extent where parts of their body falls off. The body literally can't contain it. And Rabbi Tatz was watching, where there's this patient being wheeled into surgery in a wheelchair after he'd lost 2 legs and 1 arm. He's now being wheeled in a wheelchair where he's created an arm with a manual kind of iron thing which can hold a cigarette. So he's being wheeled into surgery, and the patient is going like this. As he's going into surgery, after losing 2 legs and 1 arm, and he's about to lose another arm. Why would someone do that? How can someone do that? How can we make reckless choices? And sometimes suicide can even be that. And then there's no coming back. And the way Rabbi Tatz puts it from Kabbalah, says the Gemara, when we do an Aveira, it's because nichnas bo ruach shtus, something insane comes in our head. On a deep level, what that means is we can break off our chokhmah, which is your rational side. The Yetzer Hara can push it aside and park it away and say, but let's focus on this. Let's just focus on this. And we can silence our rational brain. We can silence our soul. We have the ability to become insane and do ridiculously crazy. That's how the Yetzer Hara works. It can press stop on your normal, logical, kind, compassionate thinking box and just go for the lust and just go for the pleasure. Stuff the consequences, because the Yetzer Hara knows how to wire things, that he takes one wire out and just uses that wire, so your only focus is the pleasure, and before you know it, that's how people can kill themselves. People who aren't, let's say, mentally ill. Someone who's making a choice is because they have the capacity to not think of consequences and not care about consequences, and we are all capable of that. That's how smokers can smoke, because they might know the consequences to the extent he knows he's about to get, but he's like, what can I do? I'm addicted. And he got said it. And the Yetzer Hara's got the capacity. That's how much free will we have. But here's what I want to share with you to finish off with this, my friends, and I'll let you go. The Rabbi Strauss Salanter, one of the great Musa rabbis, explained that the greatest distance in the world is the different distance between your head and your heart. Again, the greatest distance in the world is the difference between your head and your heart, meaning just because you know something to be right doesn't mean you're going to do it. My dear friends, what I bless you with is the ability to internalize those thoughts, process it, and to want what your head wants. You should just want what your head wants, not what your lower self wants, not what the child in you wants, not what the self-sabotage in you wants. Let your head be aligned to your heart. And by the way, the head, real part of it, is the Keser of Hashem. It's the higher consciousness. If you could want what your higher consciousness wants, and that's how a tzaddik lives their life. The tzaddik, it's like how you are on Yom Kippur. And by the way, when Mashiach comes, we're all going to be like that. People know the world's going to be like the Mashiach. The world's going to be like, everyone's going to be living their higher consciousness. They're going to want with their body what their higher self really wants. Beautiful. There's not going to be this darkness and this corruption, this criminality, because the Yetzer Hara doesn't want that anymore. You don't want that, and you only want what Hashem wants. And that's the goal. And that's the blessing that we've got to learn to just move your mind and heart together, put them together. That's really what in Kabbalah is called Chachma, which is the flash of inspiration, your rational thought. Bina, which is then you process it, but then your das, which is your consciousness. You should want your consciousness, what your moach wants. In Kabbalah they say a king is called a melech. Melech stands for, anyone knows the otiot? Mem is moach, brain. Lamed is lev, your heart. And kaf is kaved, which is your liver, which is the animal side. So the king, if you want to become a king and a queen, first of all, you're using your head. You're rationally, your heart is being motivated by what's right, not by what you want. You want what's right, the mem, and then the lamed, and then the pleasure dome is only afterwards. What happens if you put your heart in front of your head? What happens if you change the mem for the lamed, anyone? Instead of the melech, it becomes a lemech. Lemech means a fool. Lemech means a fool. And what happens if you put that carnage, that animal side first, which tragically many people in society live? The chaf comes first, and then the heart, and then the brain. Kalem means destruction, carnage. And someone just puts their animal lust first, carnage.
It also depends on what your mind is filled with, right?
It doesn't mean mind. I didn't say mind, I said brain. I said chokhmah. Of course, it's the rational side. It's the rational side. Yes, the Yetzer Hara can attack the rational side, but it doesn't. Let me just finish off with the story, then I'll take questions. Just to show you the consequence of free will. Rabbi Tat says the story of, in the Holocaust, and I think many stories like this happened. There was a Jewish family that came to this doctor in Warsaw at the time of the Warsaw Ghetto, I think 1938. And they were allowed to see this doctor, and they got into this non-Jewish Polish doctor. And at the end of the treatment, the Polish doctor said, "Shh, don't go back. You go back, you're not going to make it. Come stay with me. Let me look after you. It's not going to be good for you. I'm happy to save you." And the man said, "Thank you, but I've got my wife. I can't just come without my wife." He goes, "No problem, bring her as well." And he goes, "But she can't just come herself. She's got like her sister and brother. Can they come too?" And she goes, "No problem, let's take hold of her." Can you imagine? True story. So he goes back to the Warsaw Ghetto and says, "I've got an out here. Let's try and escape the ghetto and go to her." The sister and the brother, but they also had some family members, and before you know it, there was 13 members of the family that arrived on this Polish doctor's door, and they knocked on the door, and she goes, "Quickly, quickly, quickly." And for the next 6 years, they lived in her attic. There was a time where the Gestapo was in their house, and they were in the attic. And she took away their waste. She fed them. She cared for them. She saved their life. And a few years ago, there was a wedding. And it was a wedding of one of their grandchildren. And there was 210 relatives of that family. And they said, "We need to invite her. Our heroine, who saved our life. And they brought her to the time she was alive. It happened a few years ago. And they paid for the ticket. And they found her. And they brought her to the wedding. And she was the guest of honor. And all the grandchildren, "You're only alive because of her. And you're only alive because of her. And you're only alive because of her." And at a certain point of the wedding, they said, "Can you speak to us? Can you give us a blessing? How did you save it? What inspired you to say, I'm going to save the Jewish people?" So this little old lady got up from her chair, stood up proudly, said, "You know why I did it? Because I read the Bible. And in the Bible it says that Abraham said to God, will you save this city? If there's 50 good people, 40 good people, 10 good people." She said, "I was hoping there'll be 10 good people in Warsaw. I was wrong." She was just inspired by good. Rabbi Tat says, look at that one woman's free will decision has given life to 210 people, and that was in the 1980s. How many is that now? My dear friends, your free will decision isn't just for you. Your free will decision will have ripple effects after ripple effects after ripple effects. If you inspire someone to be compassionate, every time they're compassionate to someone else, you're part of that. You help someone get married, every child that they have or they have, you're part of that. You help someone keep Shabbat every single Shabbat. It's your Shabbat. You don't understand the consequences we have. We can change the world. We have that power to change the world. So don't look at your free will as just putting the lid of a toothpaste on the toothpaste, and that's it. It starts with that. But it could end with stopping wars like this. It could end with mamash bringing peace to the world. And Hashem should bless you to become aligned to Hashem, to make the right decisions, to almost one step at a time get to a level where it's just instinctive and innate to only want to do Hashem's will. And please God, when the whole world have that, Mashiach will be here. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Thank you. Any questions? Yalla. So if you've got free will, if you want to have another glass of wine, if you want to take any more pizza, Sherry. And what you don't have free will about is to come tomorrow night, because I really need you to come tomorrow night, because there's a big tzaddik coming, and I hope people come. Tell your friends. So I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Good night. By the way, there's a few more seats for Friday night.